Welcome back. This is All This Math. I'm Professor Parker. Go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. When we're done with the video, make sure you drop some comments. Well, actually, no. Don't even wait till the end of the video. If you have a question about anything that I'm trying to explain, go ahead and put your question in the comments. All right? And I'm going to check you out. I'm going to hook you up. All right? I might make another video just based on your question. Who knows? All right? Also, share this video with somebody. All right? We're doing business math. Shout out to Morgan State University, Earl G. Graves School of Business. All right. So, business math. All right, here we go. A sneakerhead, if you're not familiar, sneakerhead is a person that collects sneakers, right? They probably have a collection of rare sneakers that most people don't have, a lot of exclusive shoes, right? In their collection, a lot of stuff that's dead stock, never been worn before, The sneakerhead made a 35% profit. Make sure you understand what profit is. Profit is the excess of the amount that you spent to purchase the good in the first place when you resold it, right? As a reseller, right? Profit is how much you made on top of the original price, in excess of the original price that you paid for it. All right. How to make $1 out of 15 cents. So you buy something for 15 cents, sell it for 85 cents. So you sold it for, I messed that up. How to make $1 out of 15 cents. So you sold it for $1.15. That'll be $1 in profit, right? If you buy something for 15 cents, sell it for $1.15, that means you made $1 more than the amount that you sold it for. So you just made $1 out of 15 cents, right? On some holy grails. What are holy grails? Holy grails are like, it's a term in the sneaker collecting community for a pair of shoes that are highly sought after, right? Difficult to find, right? You might have to, find some people, you might have to travel somewhere, meet somebody somewhere, interact with them online, and then, some very highly sought after shoes, right? Those are considered holy grails, all right? By selling them for $670, right? Selling them for $670. Here's the question. What was his original price? What was his original price? Right? What was his original price? All right? Original price. Okay? So now let's think about this, right? The original price is represented by 100%. All right? First and foremost. OG price or original price represented by 100%. Right? The original price is 100%. That's how much he purchased them for. Right? But he made a 35% profit. So that means this is the percentage he made on top of the 100%, right? Now he sold them for $670. So that means that the original price plus 35%, and this is why we got to understand, this is why, like, in terms of business, we got to understand the concept of profit. What does profit mean, right? Profit is when you make money on top of what you make, an additional amount of money on top of what you spent for something. A loss is when you can't sell it for as much as you bought it for. Let's say I buy something for $100 and then sell it for $80. Oh, that's not how you make money. That's taking a loss. That's taking an L, right? Because you sold it for $20 less. Now, sometimes you might be in a desperate situation where you like, this is the best you could do, right? And the price might be dropping or the value might be dropping. So you might be like, yo, let me let this go for 80 right now, because next week I believe that it might be worth 50. So, right, you want to minimize your losses, right? People that, invest in the stock market, deal with that all the time, right? So, you want to minimize your losses, or as people say, cut your losses, right? So you don't want to lose $50. You'd rather lose 20 than lose 50. Ideally, you'd make profit or at least break even, buy for 100, sell it for 100, break even, but don't nobody want to do that neither. Your goal is to make profit, right? Usually, not for everybody, but usually the goal is to make profit in a capitalistic system. The goal is to make profit. We could talk about that more at another time. But original price is 100%. It was a 35% profit that was made, and the sale price was $670. Now we're trying to find out how much did the original person buy them for. He sold them for $670. He sold them for $670, but he bought them for a price that we don't know. The original price is the amount that we don't know. So that means, so what does this mean? Original price was 100%, is 100%, represents 100%. He made 35% profit. So what's 100 plus 35? That's 135%, right? 135% is equivalent with 670. So 135% is equal to $670, right? But 135% of what, right? Of the original price. So 135% of the original price is $670. Now, we need a variable to represent the original price. Let's say the original price, let's call it P, right? So we can say 135% times P of P times P, same thing, is 670, right? Now, how do we convert this percent into a decimal or into a non-percentage value? You take the percentage and you divide by 100. You take the percentage and you divide it by 100. So you do 135 divided by 100. 135 divided by 100 equals 1.35. $1.35. 1.35. So that means you got 1.35p is equal to 670, right? Now I'm trying to solve for p. So what do I do with 1.35? I got to get rid of it because I want to isolate p. You solve for p by isolating p, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite operation from multiplication, because 1.35p means you multiply by p. You multiply 1.35 times p. That's multiplication. So in order to get rid of 1.35, we need to do the opposite operation, which is division. So we're going to divide by 1.35 on the left side, and we're going to keep it balanced. Keep it balanced. Divide by 1.35 on the right side. Now 1.35 divided by 1.35 is 1. So we got 1p over 1. That's the same thing as p. 1p over 1 and p are the same thing. They the same thing, right? Now go over here. 670 divided by 1.35. Now for a problem like this, I'm using a calculator. I got to be efficient. So let me grab my calculator, right? Little scientific joint. So 670 divided by 1.35. I get 496.2962963. Now we're dealing with money, right? So make it look like money. I tell my students all the time, make it look like money. What do I mean by that? I mean, after the decimal point, you should have 2 digits. 2 digits, not 3 digits, not 4 digits. When the last time you went into the store? I mean, with the exception of the gas station, the prices have 3 digits after the decimal point. But that's a different situation. That's unique, right? But you go to the store, everything's advertised 2 digits after the decimal point. All right, $3.99, $2.50, $8.75, right? 2 digits after the decimal point. So I got all these digits after the decimal point, so that means I need to round. So I got 496.296. If you put this in your calculator, you're going to get the same thing probably. You look in your calculator, see what your calculator says. 0.296. The 6 will make the 9 go up. But if 9 goes up, right, the next digit after 9 is 10. So that means you got to go to the next digit to the left. That 2 got to turn into a 3. So that 29 is going to turn into 30. Into 30. So that means the original price was $496.30. The original price, $496.30. So bought the sneakerhead, bought them for $496.30, right? Turned around and flipped them for $670. This is a 35% profit, right? Because what happens is you took 35% of this, right? 35% of this is equal to the additional amount or the difference between these two amounts. And this is how we check our work. Let's check our work, right? So let's take 496.30, right? And let's find 35% of that. So what's 35% of 496.30, right? We have brains. We don't need to ask Siri or Alexa or Chat GPT. We have brains. We understand how to do math. We can just calculate it on our own, right? That's how you stay sharp. Once you start asking computers and, even if you ask other people for answers all the time, you never practice figuring out the math yourself. Your brain is like a muscle. It's going to atrophy. That's how we get dumb. We get dumb from constantly asking Chat GPT, asking Alexa, asking Siri. That causes us to become dumb. So if you want to become dumb, keep doing that. See what happens. All right. So 496.30 times 0.35 is 173.71. All right. So then I'm gonna add that to 496.30, and that's gonna give me $670. So that's proof that this is a correct answer. Because if you make 35% profit, this is 35% of what? 35% of the original price you paid for it, right? So this is how you tell, like, so if you got a business, you're into entrepreneurship and you want to know, okay, well, how much money did I make? Like, what was my profit, right? If you made profit, because you could have took a loss, you should also know how to calculate your losses too, right? So, yeah. So dig that. So, but you got to understand percentages. Like percentages are the language of business, right? And then oftentimes to understand percentages, you got to understand algebra. Keep that in mind. All right. So don't be one of them people in class, in math class, talking about why I got to learn this, when am I ever use this? And you talking about you want to be an entrepreneur. How you gonna be an entrepreneur? You don't know algebra. And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm convinced, like so many people, because they're well-known people with large platforms, large followings, right? That will tell people that math is irrelevant. And these are business people. And the problem is like they don't realize, they don't know what algebra is. They don't know. They don't know this is algebra. Calculating profit, percentages. That's algebra. That's what it is. Right? So don't fall into the trap. Don't be one of the people talking about, oh, I don't need to know that. Yeah, okay. And that's why a lot of people businesses is grand opening, grand closing. Because they didn't know how to do the basic math. They didn't. They try to blame it on other things, but fundamentally, they didn't know how to do basic math. Right? Didn't know how to do basic math, didn't know how to do basic algebra. Right? And they don't want to admit it because then, a lot of times people got egos. They don't want to admit they was wrong. They don't want to admit that, damn, when I was in high school, I should have paid more attention. They don't want to admit it. But it's never too late to learn, though. Never too late to learn. That's why I got this whole channel, all these videos, so you can learn. All right? No matter what your station in life is, you can learn. All right? So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video. If you got questions about anything I did up here, put that in the comments. All right, if you got a comment about anything I did, put that in the comments too. And share this with somebody. Share this with at least one other person. All right. And again, shout out to my alma mater. Shout out to my alma mater, Morgan State University, Earl G. Graves School of Business. Peace. I'm out.